We're going to have a pre-talk, and then we're also going to go into the main talk. Tonight's pre-talk is going to be given to us by Nat Gali, and that's going to be on love and forgiveness. And then straight after that, we're going to get into the main talk, and that's going to be Judgment Day bucket list, and that's going to be given to us by Tony Tadros. Tadros Hanna, all the way from St. Mark's. All right, so if we can make Nat feel welcome as she comes to give her pre-talk, that'd be fantastic.
Is defined as being affectionate or tender with one person or have platonic love. So before I move on, does anyone know what the word love means? Or forgiveness? No one knows what the word love means? Yeah? Anyone else?
Love means being affectionate or tender with one another.
You're right. So I'm going to be covering 3 questions that people ask themselves. Number 1 is how do/can I love others? Number 2 is it for everyone? And number 3 is how can I love God? So for the first question is how do I/can I love God? Oh, sorry, how do I/can I love? So it says in 1 Corinthians 13:4-8, the Bible states that love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist in its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. So that's the definition of love in the Bible. So starting off, for us to love, we have to be patient with one another, be kind with one another. Don't be arrogant or rude. And it also says that whoever claims Whoever claims to love God yet hates a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. And I've put a question there. And I've said, think about your love for Christ. How can you love someone who you can't see, but hate someone who you can see? So when I say think about how, it's actually think about you. So have you put effort into loving someone? Have you prayed for them? Have you prayed for you to change? Maybe it's your fault. So I've written the bottom saying, talk to God, for he says, all that the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me, I will never cast out. So if you ask God, you want something, God isn't going to leave you if you keep nagging on God. Because honestly, we nag on everything in the world except for the things that we need. We don't talk to God enough. So going back to slide 1, this was slide 1. It says, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you. But it doesn't stop there. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. And I think it's really important that God mentions, loving the friends. So question 2, is it for everyone? Is love for everyone? Yes, love is for everyone. For he says, let all that you do be done in love. Everyone deserves to be loved. Because who are you to say no to be loved? Who are you to judge someone else other than yourself? So yes, everyone deserves to be loved. And everyone does deserve a second chance. So as I said here, everyone deserves a second chance, just like God keeps giving us chances, whether it is loving or forgiving them. And this Bible verse that says, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So if your enemies are hungry, give them bread to eat. And if they are thirsty, give them water to drink. So we are also built as his image. It says here, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So we are built in his own image. He chose us, died for us, and sacrificed his love for us, meaning that he loves us. And in Proverbs 14:29, it says, whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. So this also links back to forgiveness. So it's learning how to love and learning how to they both overlap with each other. They come hand in hand. Because I can't say love first if you don't have forgiveness. I can't say forgive if you don't have love. And in Matthew 6:14, it says, for if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. And I do understand that some people take time being upset. It is normal, we're humans. Take time, be upset, but also a big part comes from is forgiveness. And as I said here, this is done out of love. Not everything has to be equalized. Not because you did that, I'm going to do that. It's not an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. But the Bible says here, but I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And question number 3 is, how can I love God? So complain from yourself to him. Say, I don't know how to love you. Teach me how to love you. Prayer. Pray. Most of the answers are found through prayer. The Bible. Yani links back to prayer. And fasting. If you fast, you get to learn so many new things that you didn't know. And each fast has a new meaning. So not every fast, you're retaining yourself from eating from eating meat or milk or chocolate. No. We have a reason to why we fast. And all doesn't matter if it's not done out of love or it's not done, like if you're not going to put effort or have love or it's not coming from the heart, then it doesn't really count. Doesn't really matter. Also, things don't have to be like, prayer, Bible, because I know they're all cliche. It doesn't have to be the same thing that you do over and over. It can be charity work. Other people are not consistent when reading the Bible. Other people are not consistent with fasting. So you can change it up by doing charity works, donations, see services that happen. And I lied that this isn't the last thing, but this is my favorite verse. It says, this is Romans 5:8. It says, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Or as I like to say it, you are loved more than you ever know by someone who died to know you. So if God died for us and sacrificed his love for us, I think if he keeps giving us chances, we also should give other people chances. We should also love them, because he has loved and forgiven you despite what we continue to do. Think about it. Every day we sin, we do wrong things, swear, whatever it is, but he still gives us chances. So I think that no matter what, don't always have preconceived ideas of other people. You don't know what goes on in their day. And the last thing is a prime example of my friends and I. We've gone through a lot, whether it be fights, problems, but I think throughout this group, we've maintained and showed love towards one another, especially forgiveness. So just to sum it all up, if you had to get anything from today's talk, it'd be love one another, give people chances, and forgive them. Because what Christ does for us is an everyday or a daily reminder of what we should be doing towards others. And as I said, don't have preconceived ideas. Thank you. Oh, any questions? No questions.
Yeah, I have a question. So do all humans have the capacity to love?
Not all
And
humans.
I know it's a simple question, but not all humans are born equal. Like, you can be born mentally impaired. So how do you have a capacity to love?
So obviously, not every person has a capacity to love, okay? But it actually comes back to you, whether you want to love or whether you want to forgive people. But as I said, all of that can change if you change from yourself. And this was in question number 2, changing from yourself and praying to God. Because the question comes back to you on how you pray. And God can show, like, if you pray about yourself, because the problem doesn't have to be from the other person, it can be from you. So if you pray for God to change you or to change the other person, then, maybe you have the capacity to love. Any more questions? Thank you.
Thanks for that, Nat. You did an excellent job. Alrighty. So I'll just reiterate one more time what's going to be going on for tonight. Tonight's topic is Judgment Day bucket lists. That's going to be given to us by Tadros Hannah. Make sure I got it right this time. But before we start, there's not many of us here at the moment, so can we just shuffle up a little bit just so the back doesn't get full when other people walk in? Damn. It's all right. We can wait. Don't be afraid, guys. All right, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. All right, can we make Tadros feel welcome, please?
Guys, how you going? With Abuna's permission, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Thank you, Abuna. So today I was asked to speak about, hi, I'm Tad. Just say hi first. I was asked by Carolyn to speak about judgment. And so I had to think about it, and I thought, maybe I'll ask some questions first about judgment from you to see what you think, if there's judgment or whatever. So my first question will be to you guys. Is there judgment? That's my first question. Does anyone believe there's judgment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right, can we? Is there a reference that anyone knows where we could say there is a judgment in the Bible? Like just a wild guess. Yeah. Revelations. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in Revelations, you could say that there was judgment and stuff. Yep. But usually what we try and believe is what Christ says from his mouth, right? So in the Gospels, he said a couple of things. Can someone?
Like where he says, I don't know where.
No, that's okay.
But
That's all
I
right.
think it's like, when if you cause one of his little ones to stumble,
Yep.
and then he says, "Woe to him,"
Yep.
and it'll be worse for him on Judgment Day than
Yeah.
Sodom and
it was
Gomorrah.
him, that sort of thing. Yep. Yep. Yep.
7.
Yep.
Oh, Christ is telling them how they were given, talents, and then there was
Yep.
a judgment day, and what have you done with your talents?
Yep, yep, good. So he's used parables to actually explain how you can be judged in a good way or a bad way, right? There's another reference that I think we can all probably read in John chapter 5. So do you guys have Bibles on your phone or Bibles at all? We can just look it up, or if you can put it up on the screen. John chapter 5, verse 22 to 30. John, I had it open here, sorry. It is John chapter 5. Who wants to read?
22 to 30.
Yeah, 22 to 30.
For the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son.
So the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son. Who's the Father? God the Father. Who's the Son? Christ. So it's pretty clear, and that's in. You can't see that it's red. In my one, it's red. So everything that Jesus says is in red. So he said it, right? So keep reading.
That all should honor the Son just as they honor the Father. He who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him.
Okay, so there's another catch there. Everyone has to honor the Son just as they honor the Father. So he's being very clear that there's a judgment. He's the judge, and we need to honor him as the judge, just like we honor the Father. So it doesn't mean just because he's been given the judgment, we just forget about the Father. No, we honor both of them, Father and Son, right? Keep going.
Most assuredly I say to you, he who hears my word and believes in him who sent me has everlasting life.
So
and
there's a command, there's a command there. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. But I say to you, he who hears my word, believes in him who sent me, the Father, has everlasting life. Yep.
and shall not come into judgment, but has passed from death into life.
So there's the promise, right? So the judgment will happen, but you will be passed from death to life, not from death to eternal condemnation, right? So he's really elaborate, isn't he? Like he's not mincing his words about it. He's being very clear. So there is a judgment. Some people will say, oh, nah, we're all going to be saved. No, there's no judgment. There's not going to be, like if we just like chill about this and we're cool, God will be all right. And he'll just say, oh, don't worry about it, Tad. That thing you did, it's all cool. Just go, yalla, right? No, he's serious. He is the judge and he has it in his hands, right? What a wonderful thing that he's the one who has it in his hand, because he's the one who then sacrificed himself for us to give us an opportunity of salvation, right? Anyway, so keep going.
Most assuredly I say to you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear this, who he will live.
Okay, so most assuredly I say the hour is coming now, and now is when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. And that's both here and when we die. Okay, so why is that here as well? Does anyone know why that means here on earth if we hear the Son of God? where can we hear the Son of God on earth? Just give me some examples. Where can we hear about the Son of God on earth? We're hearing about him now, right? Yeah, church. Yeah, church. You're hearing about him. Youth meeting, right? In the Bible, like we're reading where we can hear about the Son of God in the Bible. So the point is not just reading it, but reading it and hearing it, right? It absorbs and goes inside your heart, right? And it reminds me of the parable. There's another parable where he speaks about the sower, and the sower is God throwing seed, and the seed lands in particular places. And he says in the one with the sower that the seed that lands in the good soil takes root and grows and produces like great harvest, right? So he's very clear about judgment. He's very clear about who the judge is. And this is one reference. There's many references through the Gospels about who the judge is. So we can go to Revelation and say, yep, there's a judgment, 100%. Revelation, it talks about how and when and the visions that St. John saw and Patmos and all those things. But when we talk about it, because like I said, there are many people that say, oh, this judgment thing's old-fashioned. But Jesus isn't old-fashioned. Like, we believe in him, we eat his body, we drink his blood, we think about him every day, every week, we read it, we say we should be praying, we should be thankful to him, we should be thanking him for his sacrifice and everything, but we should also believe what he says. Okay, so when anyone says to you there's no judgment, just go, whoa, just go to John and read this out to them, all right? Okay, so we've established there's judgment. All right, but there's another side to judgment as well that we have to be careful of, right? And can someone tell me what that is? Yes.
Judging others.
Whoa, nice work. You didn't cheat at all. I heard a whisper, then you said it, and I'm like, okay, that's good, it's fine. I'll go with that. Judging others. Yeah, that's good. No, support each other hard. Judging others, that's a big problem, right? Because my natural instinct, and I'll give you a living example. My natural instinct is to judge others based on their situation. So I'll walk down the road and I'll see a guy on the side of the road sitting on the floor with a cup, like an old 7-Eleven dollar cup, because he's had a $1 coffee, and he's got like a few coins in there, and he's smoking a cigarette. Judged him hard. Why? Because any coin I'm going to give him is going to go to what? Go to smokes, right? Or drugs, or go to the pub, right? Or maybe another 7-Eleven coffee that's a cleaner cup, so he gets more money, right? Now, if we read what Christ said about that, let's go to Luke chapter 6, verse 37 to 42. Just Luke chapter 6, verse 37, and we'll read through it. So I like reading the Bible because it really has the truth in it, right? Like, I can make anything up, but I'm not going to do that. It's all here. Like, it's all written. So we'll just go to the Bible, we'll talk about it, and then we can discuss it. Like, if you have an argument with me, I want to have an argument. I'm keen as a bean. All right. So, sorry, I had this one open too. Luke 6:37. Okay, go ahead. Someone else can read for me.
Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you'll be forgiven.
Keep going. Give.
Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be put into your bosom. For with the same measure that you use, it will be measured back to you.
Okay. So, judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. And that's in red as well on my one, like it's in red writing, because Jesus said it, right? So this is words from his mouth. But the bit I like all of it. I have to like all of it, because otherwise then I can get in a lot of trouble. But the bit I love is give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be put into your bosom. So, what was my mistake when I walked past the guy sitting on the side of the road? I saw a cigarette in his mouth. He had a cup with 50 cents in it, or 45 cents, probably came out of his own pocket to say, look, I've got a good turn here. Like, if you put another 5, it's going to go to 50. If you put another 5, you got $2, mate, $2.50, whatever, right? Now, what does it say about giving? Does it say, give, judge who you're giving it to, and make sure that they're going to spend that money on the right thing? Like there's no, you know how they have those little funny little letters and then go down to the bottom and you read at the bottom and it goes, oh yeah, what we meant there was, when you give the money, just ask the guy what he's going to use it for. Does it say that? It doesn't. It says give. So give, comma.
Can't you use discernment, or can't you just assume without judging that this person might spend it on something that you don't want this money to go to?
This is the complex question, right? It's a very complex question. So it really depends on when you let go. Okay? So if I have money in my hand and I think it's my money and I worked really hard to earn it, and someone's asking me to give the money that I own to somebody else, it's very difficult for me to let it go because I believe it's mine. But if I, in my heart, believe everything is given to me as a steward, it's not hard to let it go. Because all I'm doing, and I'm not judging anyone here, because I don't care if you give the money or you don't give the money. Not my problem. That's between you and God, right? But I'm going to tell you what he's saying. If I give the money as a steward to that person, as a steward of the cash from God, right? It's not my money, it's his money. Then what I hope for that money to do is that's the dollar or the 50 cents or the 5 cents that changes this person's life. But that's none of my business. That's between God and him. That's how I don't judge. Because the minute that I put myself in between God and him, God's not there anymore. It's me and him. So there's wisdom. You're going to say, but I have to be wise. What if I give it to him and he goes, buys cocaine, whatever? Okay. If you really, really, really can't let go of the dollar, go and buy some food and give him food. But that still has an edge of judgment in it because you're making an assumption, number one. And also, it could be true. But if I know that I am given everything, even my own body, as a stewardship from God, it belongs to him. So do you think he's going to use it for bad if I use it in the way that he wants me to use it? Of course not. So judgment by God is absolute. He will judge me. We'll stop because he said he would, right? But me judging, I can't judge. So in that difficult situation, that really hard giving money to someone that I think is mine, because I'm not saying this because I think you think that. That's what I think. Like when I go to work, I get money for doing stuff, right? So someone's asking me to separate myself from that cash and give it to someone else who's doing nothing. That's the first part that's hard. I got to cross a bridge to get to that point, right? That's a very difficult thing to do. But then on top of it, the guy's got a ciggy hanging out of his mouth. And he's going, mate, you got $1. It's like, ooh, that's tough. I got to now separate myself from the money that I worked from to give it to this guy so that he can go buy another packet of ciggies. Nah, not doing that. Can you see my bigotry? Can you see what I'm doing? I'm looking through my eyes, judging with my, and I'm not saying get rid of your wisdom. No, I'm saying that if you look at it from a perspective of faith and from God, I've been given this cash, money come, money go. I give it to you, Lord. Please make this dollar the dollar that changes this man's life. Say it with a prayer. Say it by yourself. quietly between you and him. Fake it till you make it if you have to. Make it 5 cents if you can't give 10. Make it $1 if you can't give 2. Just try. Because really, that's how you break judgment. You break judgment by not judging. Put yourself in a situation where you have to judge and try not to do it. It's very hard. Very, very difficult. So challenging, huh? Can any of you do it? I'll leave it up to you next time you see a bloke on the side of the road. Yep.
Think you can like correct someone without judging them, and is that wise to kind of be in that area of trying to help someone but coming across as, you know, like judging what they're doing?
Well, in King's Cross, I don't want to correct anybody because I don't want to get stabbed, right? So that's probably the first piece of wisdom I'm going to give you, right? So if you're doing it for his sake, and praying that that's the dollar that changes him. If you're in a situation where someone is doing the wrong thing and you want to try and help them and you see an opportunity to do it, okay, you know, it's wise for you, and it's wise for you to open your mouth at that time, do it, right? But like you have to, it's a case-by-case basis. But if someone's asking, give, because that's what Christ said. He said, if someone asks you for your shirt, give them your cloak as well, right? If someone asks you to walk a mile, walk 2. Like he didn't say, ask why. And you know, the whole walking a mile thing, I think I learned this from Paul or one of them, but it was the Romans, right? The Romans used to force the Jews to march with their pack on their back because they hated the Jews. So they'd say to the Jew, carry my pack. And the Jew would have to carry the pack and march a mile. And they were only obliged to march a mile, and then they drop the pack on the floor and say, I've done it, I'm out. Right? So the Jew would have to do that for the Roman, because the Roman was defending the country. It's like, you know, how we show honor to the soldiers. It's the same sort of thing, but this was sort of advantage taking of the Jews, right? And come here, Jew, carry my pack, right? So what Christ was saying to the Jew, if someone asks you to carry the pack a mile, go 2. Do you see? So it's injustice, but go a 2nd mile. What skin is it off your nose? So if he's saying that about the carrying of the pack, the thing that's shaming the Jew, what does he mean about $1 if someone's asking for it? It's $1. What's $1 to you? Like it might be a lot to students or whatever, but it's $1. Like, so I used to walk with another 2 guys in the city, right? And as I was walking, we'd walk past poor people and they would give money and I wouldn't, right? And I'd say, you guys are stupid. Like, what are you doing? You're giving money to these guys and yeah, they're going to go and they're going to buy cigarettes and they're going to take drugs and they're going to go to the pub and they're going to do whatever. And one of them turned around and faced me and said, hey, Tad, how many more excuses are you going to make not to give? And I went, oh, just shut up, all right. I walked away. And then it hit me. How many excuses am I making not to give? It's $1. It's chump change. It's sitting in my pocket. And I don't like carrying chump change. So what am I going to do with it? I'm going to buy a house with $1. I'm going to go pay about the last dollar off on my home loan. It's not going to happen, right? It's not going to be $1. So, you know, how many more excuses am I going to make? And I guess I heard a similar thing. I was working at Toyota a long time ago, and a guy was cursing those TV ads with the Ethiopians, you know, the sick young kids saying, oh, you know, famine and whatever. And he goes, oh, they're just pulling at your heartstrings to try and get you to give money, you know. And I heard exactly the same thing said. Another guy said to him, and I was working somewhere else and I just overheard it of me. How many excuses are you going to make not to give, mate? It was an Aussie telling an Aussie, how many excuses are you going to make not to give, mate? It's like, how wise is that? Because that's what it is. It's just an excuse. Like an excuse is, oh, he's going to use that dollar to buy another pack of cigarettes. So it's just an excuse just to keep the dollar in your pocket. It's just $1. Give it. What is it?
Like, this is a kind person, or this person is a loving person just to give, which is probably why God calls us to give, because we get put in these situations that there could be potentially tests for us to grow by,
Well,
it's interesting.
Natalie said something
Yeah.
before. She said, what is love?
Yeah.
She was asking the question, what is love? Well, really, the answer is God is love, right? So when you act in a way of love, you are acting God. So we have a Muslim cafe near because we live in Muslim town, right? When our church is in the middle of Islam. And we have a cafe called Bakerway, right? And the guy there, his name is Jihad, right? That's his name. And he goes to me, I go, what's your name? He goes, my name is Jihad. I go, wow. I said, your parents really liked you, right? And he goes, it's not a Muslim word, man. And it's not, apparently it's not a Muslim word. It's not an Arabic word. So I said, all right, whatever. He says, people just call me G. So I said, all right, no worries. This guy is the kindest guy you've ever met. He's a big guy. He says the F word. He says every word under the sun that you imagine, right? And we all go after early mass to go and get coffee and eat from him. He always gives us extra biscuits. He always gives us he goes, oh, don't worry about the pizza. I won't charge you for it today. Like we get cheese pizza and it's $5. And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. We'll give you that free. Or we forget a coffee. Oh, look, I forgot a coffee. He'll give you $4. I say, oh, don't worry about the $4. Don't worry about it. Now, he doesn't know it, or he may know it, but he's showing love. See, he's showing God more than I would show him God. Do you get it? So love is God. God is love, right? It's not an emotion, it's him. So when I show love, or someone shows me love, they're showing me God. Okay? And they may not even know they're doing it. All right, so back to judgment. So don't judge. And that's a pretty difficult example of not how to judge, but good luck. Good luck out there. All right. So what will we be judged on? Okay. So what do you guys think will be judged on? Just anyone throw it out there. Everything. Okay.
Everything that we judge other people with.
Nice answer. That's good. That's good. That's a good. Yeah, because that's what you'll be measured upon, right? So that's true.
Yeah.
So basically, that's it. So what I'll be measured on in judgment is basically what I judge others, because that's what Christ said, right? He basically said that in the last verse that we read. Okay, but not only that, I'll also be asked questions. So I'm going to talk about a story in the Bible. Do you remember the story of the adulterous woman? And they're trying to trick Jesus. The men and the Sadducees and the rabbis and whatever, they brought this adulterous woman who was busted in the act, right? So she was sleeping with a man who was not her husband. So then they grabbed her in the act. They probably had a Snapchat or a TikTok video of her in the act, and they dragged her out in front of Jesus and they threw her on the floor and they said, we busted her in the act. What are you going to do? What did Jesus do at that point? Everyone's seen the movie, right? His finger and he does these things on the floor or whatever. And he says something. What does he say?
Without sin, cast the first stone.
He who's without sin, cast the first stone. Because they've all got rocks in their hand. Because the reason why they got rocks in their hand is because the law says if you're caught in that type of a sin, the punishment is death by stoning. Okay? So he asks them a question. Well, any of you who have no sin, you can throw the stone. So who's the only person in that crowd who has no sin?
Him.
Was he holding a stone? Was he even standing up?
No.
As I said, he was crouched down, scribbling on the floor, right? So it just shows you that he was in a passive position, not an aggressive position, right? And then on top of all of that, the men dropped the rocks and walked away. They just, see ya, bye. Because they couldn't in good conscience, because they brought her in good conscience with the law to get her condemned. So then, by the law, they had to judge themselves, because he said, well, if you don't have sin, then fill your boots, throw a rock. So coming with the law, you can't half law, right? You have to fully law. So they went and condemned themselves and said, well, we can't throw it. So he asked the question, where are your condemners? And what did she say? She said, they're gone, Lord. So neither do I condemn you. Neither do I condemn you, but sin no more. See what order that was? So it's really important that you notice the order that Christ put that in. So the first question wasn't to her. He didn't say to her, hey, lady, you were caught in the act. I saw the TikTok video. Like, it's pretty condemning. If you tell me now that you won't do it anymore, I'll convince them to stop throwing the stones. Is that what Jesus did? No, he didn't do that. He asked, the first people that he addressed was the condemners. He said, well, if you don't have any sin, then fill your boots, throw the stone. And then he waited for them to throw. And they didn't, because they couldn't. Had a good conscience. They couldn't. They were coming justified with what they were accusing her of, but they couldn't justify what they were asked, right? So they had to drop the stones. And you see then, he could have then said, see, lady, you're lucky. I saved you. Don't sin anymore, okay? He didn't. He said, well, where are your condemners? Neither do I condemn you. It's pretty full on. She's accused of adultery. She's caught in the act, and he doesn't condemn her. But he doesn't leave it open-ended. He says, but sin no more. So if you want to know what we'll be judged on, it's not necessarily the sin, because sin is what I do every day. My nature is to be proud, is to think of myself, is to worry about what others think of me, is to look sideways. It's to all of these things that I do even consciously, subconsciously, whatever, right? God's not going to judge me on any of that. He's going to judge me on the request at the end. But sin no more. Go and sin no more. So my struggle against who I am is what I'll be well judged for, like judged in a good light. So it's the struggle against my sin. So when I sin, okay, I've sinned. Because I do it all the time. Every day I'll swear, or I'll say something wrong, or I'll lie, or I'll tell a white lie, or I'll tell my wife, yeah, I did the dishes and I did nothing. Or I'll say, yeah, I'll go pick up the kids, and then I'll ring her and say, no, can't do it, you got to go do it. Whatever, right? It's your job, you're the woman. Like whatever, I'll be sexist, whatever it is, right? I'll do whatever it is that's a bad thing, right? But for me to struggle against that is difficult, because, it's easy for me to look after me. It's harder for me to look after others. It's harder for me to not think of me and to think of others. And this is also what I'll be judged on. I'll be judged on the struggle against me, against my lack of compassion, my lack of God, my lack of ability to see others, my lack of stopping to think of myself and be selfish. So these things are the measures that God will measure against me. So it won't be, oh, look, Tad, you know, you did this, you did this, you did this. It's like, okay, you you did that, but you were repentant and sorry, and you went and saw a Border about it. You tried hard, Tad. I saw it where, you know, you were struggling against not being able to give by giving. That's good. That's a big struggle. Okay. You know, you fought hard against the vices that were holding you down. That could be anything: pornography, money, anything. You fought hard against those because you knew that they were not fulfilling you. So these are the things that you'll be judged on. How do I know? I don't know this because I'm just making it up, right? It's in the Bible. So go back to the Gospels. We'll go to 2 stories, and then we can open it up to questions. So what story number 1? I love this story because my son's name is the name of the character in the story, right? So Zacchaeus. Okay, so Zacchaeus, short man, already had short man syndrome, was a bit angry. He was a chief tax collector, not just a tax collector who collected money. So tax collectors in those days, like Matthew was a tax collector, he was just run-of-the-mill tax collector. This guy Zacchaeus was chief tax collector. So he ran and taught other tax collectors how to be tax collectors, right? So this guy, tax collectors were hated by the Jews. Why? Because they stole from the Jews. And they were hated by the Romans. Why? Because they stole from the Romans. So they were the good middleman, right? The middleman who would take a bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and put it in their pocket and go, yeah, here's the money, Mr. Roman. So they'd never give the right cash to the Romans, and they'd never take the right amount from the Jews, right? So they were very rich. And he was also short in stature. So everyone's heard of short man syndrome. You know, when you're short, you overcompensate on everything. So he would always wear the best clothes. He would always spend his money lavishly. He would do whatever he has to do to make himself feel big, right? So everything was going for Zacchaeus, right? So he had some hang-ups. Number 1, he was not just a thief. He was a chief thief, like the boss of thieves. Stole a lot of money. Number 2, he was short, and and he was not liked by many people. So he had some chips on his shoulders. But he heard about Jesus. He heard about this Jesus guy coming. So climbed up a sycamore tree, sat in the sycamore tree, and watched Jesus coming. And Jesus stopped, looked up, and said, I'm coming to eat at your house. Run down and hurry up and get ready. So Zacchaeus runs down, prepares his house, prepares some food. Jesus comes and eats at his house. Just that one conversation of Christ looking up at him and saying, hurry, Jesus, hurry, Zacchaeus, I'm going to eat at your house. What did Zacchaeus say? Zacchaeus says, Lord, if I have stolen from anyone, I will give them back 4 times the amount that I stole, and I will give half of my goods to the poor. I don't know if you do the maths in that, right? But as a tax collector, he sucked at maths. That's more than what he had. So what was his hang-up? His hang-up was money. He loved money. But one conversation and one interaction with Christ, one confrontation or wanting Christ or to know who he is, changed this guy's demeanor completely, flipped him 180 degrees. From loving money to wanting to give it away. 4 times to anyone I've stolen from. If I stole $1, I'll give them 4. That's a lot of money. So he's stolen from everyone, from the Romans and the Jews. He's going to be basically he's going to owe them money. And then on top of that, I'm giving half of everything I own to the poor. It's like, well, dude, you're not going to have enough money to give to the poor because you're going to be giving it out to everyone that you owe it to, right? So what a conversion. This is what God wants from us. God wants us to go against our nature, the nature that we've built on ourselves of sin, right? So this is why we have churches and we have abunas and we have these things are for us to struggle against that nature, to struggle against the me nature. And where did it come from? It came from the beginning. It came from pride. Because really when I think of me, it's about pride. When Eve was tempted by the serpent, she had a choice, right? She had a choice. She could have asked and said, look, Mr. Talking Snake, really nice to meet you, but I should probably have a chat with the guy who said I shouldn't eat this before I eat it, right? But she didn't. She said, yeah, I'm going with this. So that's her saying, I don't have a requirement for God. That's her going it alone. And then when she went and offered it to Adam, Adam didn't go, silly girl, like God didn't say to eat from that tree. We better go talk to him. He went, yeah, tastes good, huh? Yeah, give me a go. And did you notice when in the story it says God asked them, where are you? Do you think God didn't know where they were? Of course he knew where they were. Like he knew where they were every second of the day. But he was giving them an opportunity to what? To repent. That's the first step. And then when he said, who told you you were naked? Did you eat from the tree? What was Adam's response? Adam at this point broke relationship with everyone. I mean, if you read the response, it's brutal. He only says it in like 4 words. He goes, the woman you gave me. So he cut God off. The woman you gave me. It's like, well, I just thought it was good not to be alone. So that's why I created a woman, right? But the woman you gave me, she gave me the apple. So he stuffed 2 relationships up in one go, like that. And then, so God looks at Eve, and Eve goes, it was the serpent. Points at the serpent. Doesn't go, oh yeah, maybe I stuffed up. Like, you see the cascading, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, we can say, oh, how dumb they are. I do it every day. I get challenged by anyone for something that I haven't done, and I'll make an excuse. I'll go, oh, like my boss. If my boss says to me, Tad, you said you'd have that done by yesterday. I go, yeah, but I needed a nap and I couldn't get it done, and I really wasn't listening, so I couldn't type it up. And like, I'm not going to tell him the truth. I'm just going to say, oh yeah, I'll get that to you tomorrow. Sorry, boss, I was really busy, and you know how it is, right? I'm not going to go tell him the truth, right? Why? Because I'm worried about me. I'm self-preservation. Okay, so that's what pride is. It's going it alone, and this is why we needed that redemption. We needed a way of us to compare ourselves against something that's better than us. Because what we did was we went it alone and said, well, now I'm the order. I'm the top dog. So when I say I'm the top dog, then I'm comparing everything against me. I'm not good enough, especially after I've sinned. So that's why we compare ourselves against who? Against Christ. So when it comes to judgment, I need him. I need him to cover me. I need to be struggling against the things that I do every day. There's an oxymoron about saints, right? So all these saints here that we look at, especially the ones in the desert, look at them. So people think, saints are super holy. These guys are super holy, and they were like the kingpins of the desert. They roamed around, floating on clouds and shooting lightning out of their fingers and whatever. That's not how it was. How it was when they spent time in the desert grinding their sin against the sand, against themselves, and depending completely on God and getting closer to God because they were struggling. They would look down and look at themselves and go, I'm so not worthy to be this close to God. And they would lament again and say, Lord, look at my sin now. I need to get rid of that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. And they would get rid of it, and they'd get closer to God, and they'd look again and they'd go. So it was actually the opposite of what we think. They were sinners. they just, as they got closer to God with their ability to get closer to God, they saw how much of a sinner they actually were. And that's what we need to do. Really, we should be looking at ourselves against him, because he gave what is his and took what is ours. We say it in Tasbihah on Thursday night, Friday morning, whatever it is. He took what is ours and gave us what is his. So why he did that was that we have a chance for salvation. We have a chance to get to heaven. When we come to judgment, we can say, Lord, yes, I struggled against that. I struggled against that addiction that I had. I really tried hard. Do you know, there's heaps of controversy about who we're going to meet in heaven. Am I going to meet pure saints? Of course I am, because they're going to all be there, right? We see them here as windows into heaven. But the other people I'll meet are the ones that struggle against their sin. I'll meet struggling homosexuals. We'll meet struggling drug dealers. We'll meet struggling thieves. St. Moses the Black wasn't a saint at the beginning. He was someone who was looking for something better. But before that, he wasn't that good. So who am I going to meet in heaven? These are the people I'm going to meet in heaven. And I hope to be in heaven with them, because I want to struggle against my sin. So is there a judgment day? Yeah, there is. Is there judgment? Yes. What do I need on my bucket list? Well, the first thing I need is a relationship with him. And I need to have him as the apex before everything else. I need to know that everything I'm given is stewardship from him, so that I'm not like upset to lose it if he takes it. I'm not upset to give it if he asks for it. Right? Third is, don't judge others, because that's how we'll be judged. Right? And, you know, if I do good deeds, these things, like especially giving to the poor and others, I will be given in the same measure, pressed down, shaken and overflowing. These are the things that we should be looking, the little nuggets that we should be looking for in the Gospels, in the Bible, in all of the whole 66 books. Right? And not worry about the whole Revelation thing. Yep, good to see that Revelation has that whole idea of judgment of the churches and whatever else, but this should be a personal thing between me and him, and my confession father, of course, because, you know, I need him to help me. And glory be to God forever. Amen. Any questions?
So, you know, you're speaking about judgment. What if it's in the context of a workplace environment? So an interview, and you're the one that, or like, for example, your opinion's asked for. Are you judging them?
What kind of an opinion are you asking?
like,
about their clothes? Or I don't understand. What
just in general, like characteristics. Is that someone that's worth hiring, kind of thing?
No, look, when it comes to skills, you have to be honest. Like, I'm not going to hire a plumber to do an electrician's job, right? It's not going to happen. The guy will electrocute himself and die. So we're going to protect him from doing that, right? So you're not judging people, but if you're looking at it and go, look, I don't like the cut of his jib, right? I don't like the way he dresses, but he's fully qualified to do the job, then that's not fair, right? I'll give you an example. If what he does doesn't agree with my faith, let's say he's a Muslim or he's of a different sexual orientation, and I decide not to hire him because of that, that's judgment. Like, that's not good. But if his skills are there, because that's actually happened to me in regards to hiring a guy. I was hiring a business analyst, right? The guy's beard was 3 times longer than mine. No mo. So no moustache, really long beard. The lady that was interviewing with me was intimidated to the point where she was literally holding my hand, like under the table. She was going, "We're going to die today." And I was like, I said, "That's all right. We die for the faith." Like, she was so afraid, right? Anyway, the guy was a nice guy. There was nothing wrong with him. His skills did not match the requirements we needed. And it was in a government department, so we had to prove that. But if his skills did match, I would have employed him. I would have absolutely employed him. But I can't judge like that. Because what if that experience is the experience that flips him and he... Do you know what I mean? I'll put it another way. The Bakerway guy at St. Mark's Church, the Arncliffe food place, they're a Muslim family. Why should I buy food from them? Why should I be giving money for them to take it and Mr. Jihad take it, and his name's Jihad, by the way, and takes it to, Lebanon so they can kill Christians? That's me judging, right? So it's the same as the interview. I should be honest about the skills, not about the appearance. Like, if obviously they have to be dressed respectfully and whatever, but you have to, depends on the job. Does that answer your question? Cool. Any other questions? Cool. Mm-hmm.
To be is basically impartial with everyone all the time.
Non-judgmental.
Mm.
Impartial is you don't care. Non-judgmental is you care about the person,
Yeah.
not what they are.
Yeah.
Like, do you understand?
Yeah.
The guys that I go with to this Bakerway, they love Jihad, love him.
Mm.
Although he says the F word and he's really rough around the edges and whatever, they go, "I love Jihad. I love his sister.
Yeah.
I love his mum and dad. I love them. They're nice people." And people there was, I'm going to say it was me. I said, "Yeah, they love us because of our money." But that's not it. Day on day on day, if you see the difference, it's about them, not about the action. So I'm judging him hard, saying Jihad loves us because we bring cash to him.
Yeah.
But
So we shouldn't care about whether they're Muslim or whether they're poor or why they're asking. We shouldn't care about all those things. We should just care about
them.
basically, I was going to say following the word, but I guess them.
Them. Because really, Christ is in them too.
Yeah,
you
that's
need
right.
to know that you see Christ in it.
That's right.
Because he said that. He said, in the beggar and in this and that. That's where you'll see me. That's where you'll find me.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any more questions? Final call for questions.
9:30.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Tadros. I think there were some great questions asked. Got a few announcements for you guys tonight. First one, as usual, there is food and fellowship. So if you are hungry, there's going to be food outside. Second thing, every Thursday night, we do a youth tasbaha here in the Arabic church. It starts at 7 p.m., roughly goes for about an hour. Tomorrow as well, we have a nunnery day. So we are leaving church at 7:30, and they're going to be attending the mass. I think it starts 9 over there. If you are interested in that, there is a link in the youth chat with regards to, I think, like for the buses. Yeah. So if you want a spot on the bus, there's a form in there. I'm sure someone could probably just resend it. Just for those who are interested. Last thing, tomorrow the 8 and 9 boys, like the Sunday school 8 and 9 boys, they have their semi-final soccer game tomorrow. It's literally going to be down the street. It's at the Gunners Field. You may have seen it at the roundabout where the Macquarie Fields school is. That's going to be at 12 p.m. So they're very excited that they got into the semi-finals, and I know that the parents and all that would love as many people to come as possible, show there's some support and encouragement. I know they'll really appreciate it, seeing your faces there. So if you can make it and you are interested in going, but you don't know too much about it, just go to any of their servants. So the ones that should be here tonight are Andrew Mahfouz, Tony Abdul Masih, and Bashir Abdul Masih. If you want more information about them, just ask them. They'll give you proper information. But it's literally like down here. So it'd be great to go and show encouragement towards them and cheer them on. After that, they're going to be coming back here for a little barbecue if you guys want to just stick around for that. Other than that, do we have any other announcements? No. Okay, can we all please stand up for prayer?